Hi, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today we're having an Ask Me Anything about getting rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and also the complex challenges that these symptoms create in our lives. So that's what we're doing. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about anything I want until I get the first question. And then start answering questions and then we'll jump off and call it a night. Um, that's the order of events right there. Okay, so, but I want to talk about symptoms that the complex challenges. Actually, I'm going to talk first about symptoms. Okay, so most of you know what symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress are. Most of us are experience. We all experience these. Can become really problematic as they gain momentum or block us from doing or feeling the things that we actually want to do and feel in our lives, or show up how we want to show up. Um, so they can be anything from panic attacks to dissociating, which means feeling separated from yourself, disconnected. Sometimes that can look like feeling cloudy, feeling like a cloud over you, like, or feeling like life is foggy, or feeling like nothing's real. Um, Symptoms of anxiety can be racing thoughts, difficulty concentrating, your mind going blank. Um, let's see, symptoms of depression can just be feeling numb, losing interest in activities that you used to really enjoy, um, sleeping too much, not being able to sleep. Interesting, huh? Depression can do either. Um, Also, and these symptoms overlap because you can have these with anxiety and traumatic stress as well. But traumatic stress can be flashbacks. It can be not being able to get different scenes out of your mind, not able to let go of old conversations or painful memories resurfacing, nightmares, feeling restless, or your startle response is really active. Like you just become afraid you jump over anything. Um, I think that's an interesting one. I've been thinking about it a lot. It really shows that the nervous system is really on edge, right? Um, we don't want your nervous system on edge. We want it to relax, right? We want that relaxed thing. But because of trauma and the brain not being able to process the trauma, the brain can't create the new relaxation codes. It doesn't know how to be with that life now that this trauma has been happened, even if that trauma happened decades ago. um, the nervous system, the brain really needs to complete its processes to understand things and be able to say, oh, I think we can deal with this and be relaxed at the same time, because it's been able to move that trauma or all of the traumas through its pathways for understanding and healing and taking pain out. And really, then it creates a new way of being that's healthy for us. And so a lot of these symptoms are letting us know that the brain is having a difficult time processing these and creating that new way of being, right? It's in the phase of, I don't know what this is, but it's painful and we better watch out everywhere, or we better watch out nowhere. Or, I mean, the brain can really make us do some dysfunctional things when doesn't it can't do its work to understand. It can't do its work to understand why that trauma happened in the first place, or what the heck even happened when that happened. Um, or sometimes these traumas are so small, but we have such a small, right? But we have such a big reaction to them that is confusing to the brain, and then it can't do its healing for that. Um, so those are some symptoms. Those are just some symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And yeah, Lori says process it out. Yeah, brains need to process it out. But really, it's even, and it release stuff. I really hesitate to say those words like that because it's the brain is so much more complex than that. It does process things out. It works it out, right? That's really the end result is the brain's worked it out. It's like, oh, okay, I know what to do now. But it's not that things get released or let go. Some of them do, but the brain really decides that. It's so cool. It's so because it's like you just help the brain and then let the brain do what it does, and then symptoms resolve. They actually don't show up anymore. Um, that's phenomenal. That's just life changing, life giving. Um, but yes, processing out is a really good phrase because I don't think we're ever. Maybe we will. I don't know if we'll ever get exact on that, but I think it's like the sum of everything is the thing. If you followed any of that, like star for you. Okay. Um, okay. Let's see. So we have symptoms. Okay, so these symptoms come up. Some of these symptoms can be, they can show up when you're in a conversation, and all of a sudden your brain detects something's dangerous, and all of a sudden you're frozen and you can't say anything else. You literally can't talk anymore. This is a problem, but right, it's even worse if it's in a relationship where you see somebody over and over and over again. And now it's like if that challenge shows up, you can't talk. So you can't resolve an issue. So pretty soon you have massive relationship challenges, right? And so these symptoms can really grow and shift major ways of our ability to navigate our life, and they create bigger, more complex issues like codependence and emotional eating and gosh, I wrote a couple down so I could follow myself here. um, let's see, these things like people pleasing, or it also a lot of times when we have really big goals and we can't get there, even though we should, there's lots of times there where we're self-sabotaging. Those are, if we break down self-sabotage, we're going to find very specific symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress every time, because symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, they're your brain's way of saying, I don't know how to do this. I'm stuck. I need some help. And brains do need some help. So so it's really important to be able to start seeing these things as what they are and catching them. Because once you can start to take something like self-sabotage and you can find in here, um, if you can look at it, you'll start to notice um, things like beliefs that you have. If I'm successful, then my family will reject me. I bet you can find freeze when that happens. Like if you run that thought pattern through, that whole thought, if but it has to be authentic to you, it has to be accurate to you. If I succeed, my family will reject me. You can feel that in your body. You can feel a freeze. You can feel, if you listen closely, you'll feel a symptom. Sometimes this will just make you irritable. Like you'll say, gosh, that's so dumb, you know? And that's fight. That's a survival response. That's a symptom. Irritability right there. It's just really small, but there it is. And once you see that, you can help your brain right there at that irritability, which let me tell you, underneath this irritability, if you follow this right here, underneath, you're going to come to an earlier memory where that's not resolved. You're going to find emotion like frustration or anger or betrayal in there. You pull that stuff out of there, and then you come back to this. If my parents, if I succeed, my family will reject me. And you play this again, it will have changed. It will look much different. It might even be that simple that you're just like, that's not actually even true. And done. Your brain's not afraid of that anymore. A lot of times these things can be so complex that they require pulling off one layer like that. Okay, let's go in here and find the stuck emotion or the memory that didn't get processed. Okay, then we come back to the top, see how it does again. Okay, wait, hold up. Now we just sometimes people start feeling exhausted, like, oh gosh, I can't even think about this anymore. It just makes me want to fall asleep. That's a survival response. It's faint. Your brain has put you to sleep to avoid the pain. So there's pain in there. Let's go find it. And we find in here more emotion, hopelessness, maybe despair, maybe whatever. And we help the brain process this. Hey, brain, did you know this was here, right here? And we use an intervention and get the brain to resolve that. It's looking for this stuff anyway. So it's like, good find, high five. And that's how it works. Okay. Uh, okay, I think I have a question here. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to answer. Not a, it's a comment, so I'm going to keep going here for a second, and then I'll read that. Um, so we can really some of these. Okay, so with self sabotage, so right, we can take apart this self sabotage by finding the places where your brain is having challenges. Because it knows that this is not accurate. Your thinking center is like, gosh, that doesn't make any sense. But the other parts of your brain are like, yeah, that's how it is. That's how it works. That's what they think this. And we need to help those parts of the brain no longer learn that this isn't true. We can yell at them and tell them, but it won't matter until they get it for themselves. And walking through the brain's own process for getting these and for really learning this is not how it works, um, or if it does, this is the new plan that we're going to use and we'll be fine. We're going to survive this. And then once the brain gets that message, it will start really helping you get that without bringing you back and sabotaging you. I wrote a really great piece about this. I might include it here. I'm not going to go find it now because you didn't come to watch me dig through things and bring up attachments, but I think I'm going to put that in here because it's really um, important to understand that when we walk the brain through its own process, it can really we're just boosting it. We're helping it do its work, and pretty soon you're not split, right? Self sabotage is one part of you is wanting to go this direction, the other part says no, that's not safe, and this part works to sabotage this part, and we don't get anywhere. And so the brain has a process for bringing everything into alignment, and we can really help that. And then we actually get what we want. Then we're not split. Everything's moving forward to reaching our goals, whether that goal is having healthy relationships with our kids, um, uh, finishing classes, um, being able to start and finish projects, healing our relationships, finding romance, starting your business, whatever that is, brains are supposed to help you do that. If you're having any trouble doing any of that, then we really want to figure out what's going on with your brain and say, hey, like, why aren't you making this? Why aren't you running this? Like, why aren't you out there making this happen? Why are you dragging me back here? And those conversations, like, and the brain will tell you every time exactly why. So, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But okay, Emily says that she says I struggle with people pleasing. I let go some. Oh, she said she let go some going through my training and feels so much better. Yes, so good. I'm going to a church I love. Wonderful. So good. I loved working with Emily. Such a wonderful soul, spirit. When she smiles, it's like the whole room lights up. She's really phenomenal human. But so glad that you were able to clear some of that. I think that's really interesting too because it really when you clear some of it, it makes such a huge difference. And I think that because these are survival responses, when we typically have a style, like if my survival system goes off, I'm probably going to be shifted into fight. I cannot fight, and my survival system thinks we need to fight about things. Um, I will fawn, um, and then I did have some fleeing, but I'm not really a fleer, and I'm not necessarily. I can flee anyway. We have these strategies, but we have some that our survival system will really like. That's my jam. That's the one I'm going to do. I'm not one that's often put to sleep. Faint is not. I'm not a fainter, but everyone has their own makeup, right? And so some of us will. If our survival system thinks something's dangerous, we'll go right into fawning, which is people pleasing, and you know as much as we want to resolve that from showing up, it's also it's whenever your brain thinks something's dangerous, it's going to shift you into a survival mode. Um, and so it's not that, and that's not something I don't anticipate that ever stopping, because that's how it works. And as long as there are things that are dangerous in the world, it's a really great function. It's how we've evolved and where we're at. And so, but we don't want you to be fawning inaccurately. And like if you're held at, I don't want to traumatize anybody. If you're in a situation where you need to fawn in order to survive, please fawn, right? Go ahead and do that. That's accurate. That's an accurate use of a survival response. But if you're in having a conflict with somebody who is safe, and you just start fawning every time, that's problematic. You're not able to be who you want to be in that moment. And you're, I'm chasing some thoughts around in my brain. You're not able to be who you want to be in those moments, and it's not accurate. And it's one thing for your brain for you to come into something and say, oh, my brain thinks this is dangerous. Let me help it out a little bit. Good, right? It's another thing to have this process go on for years and decades, right? And that's really what disorder and what complex um, challenges that these symptoms make do to our life. And in one sense, if we just if we see it as our brain is interpreting something as dangerous, that's not, it's off, and we help it, we're actually interacting with our own system um, in the moment, right? We don't expect our brain to be perfect. We expect it to have symptoms. We're listening. We have tools. We can help you through this, and keep going. I think that's I I I think that's the healthy use of all of this stuff, the healthy navigation of who we are and how we work, right? It's like when you have a 3-year-old, you don't expect that 3-year-old never to cry. If you do, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But 3-year-olds do that, and it's very healthy for them to do that. It's very healing for them to do that. Please don't make them stop. Um, so, but mind going blank. I want to think about all the things like all the time, not just one thing. I want to multitask thinking right now, apparently. Um, so I don't expect my brain, and I don't expect your brain to never not know something. There's things in life where, and if your brain doesn't know, there's parts of your brain, if it doesn't know what's going to happen, if it doesn't know something, it just thinks it's scary. We can teach it through experiencing the unknown, that hey, the unknown is pretty safe, and we can get it to a place where it really starts making the assumption, I think we're going to be fine, right? So it can go into the unknown and really be regulated and calm and open and receptive. A lot of times when we don't do that in childhood, we can always just have this like, oh no, something unknown is going to happen, and start the survival fear, right? Um, Panic, hopelessness, despair, frustration about the unknown. We have all this inner turmoil because of the unknown, because we don't have a great relationship with it. And we want to have a great relationship with the unknown. We want to have a great relationship with all the things in our lives. So anyhow, so I'm thrilled to hear Emily is, and that's the thing, when you can clear out people pleasing, you really get to expand your relationships. You get to expand how you move in the world. You get to expand your solutions. You get to meet challenges and grow through them and mature through them. If we can't get our survival system to um, become accurate and interpret these things accurately so that it will actually not shift us into, it will learn that it doesn't need us to fawn in these moments, then it really frees us up. And the brain learns. That means in this moment, when that thing happened, You went into a survival response. You used your intervention, and you might have needed to use some more advanced skills. Who knows? But you resolve that issue, and then your brain learns that situation in all the various situations is safe, and it stops spawning in all of those situations just because you resolved this one issue. That's awesome. And that's really one of the secret sauces for my whole strategy and how I work with people and their symptoms is because when when I get people, I get them with all these symptoms everywhere, right? And you can really like look at all of them and be like, holy cow, you know? But really the trick is just to grab one and resolve it fully. Just just grab one and hunker down on this one, even though all these other ones want to get in your face and say, "What about me? When is my turn? Is my turn now?" But no, it's not. We're working with this one, and make sure we resolve it fully. And sometimes in the beginning, it just we really do need to take care of the whole with our eye on this one. We've already grabbed this one, but maybe all these things. I'm thinking bats, right? I don't know why, but I've got all these. I'm thinking of all these bats in my face, and I can't see the work that I want to do. And so we really can use some strategies in the beginning just to kind of um, help your brain with all of this stuff in a very general and broad way. And your brain, that strategy, your brain will be like, oh, I can do this because brains can do so much work with a little bit of help. And so sometimes we can just do that, and all of a sudden we can see this thing clearly. Okay, now let's get to work on this. When we resolve this all the way to the root issue, your brain gets to look at all this stuff and create new ways of being with that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know what to do with this. And I'm going to resolve this issue down here. This issue, this root issue, was the root of how uncountable numbers of symptoms, various ways of symptoms. And sometimes it's an emotional wound that happened in early childhood. Sometimes it's a belief we grabbed up somewhere, or maybe it was shoved into our subconscious minds. But once we resolve this thing, that thing can no longer create problems for us because our brain will release it, it will transform it, it will update it, it will say, well, that was true then, but it's really not true now. Now it's a little bit more like this, and it will rework it so that it's actually helpful and helps you function. And with that shift, now you've gotten rid of so many symptoms and you've upgraded something, and now you're functioning better. And now you can, like in Emily's case, you can expand your network. You can expand the things, how you express yourself, who you interact with, how you communicate with your children, just by resolving one symptom. And that's one of my solutions. And this really um, is really how I help people resolve their disorders in 2 to 6 months instead of the 2 to 6 years. Is this is one of the key features I teach people how to do, and that's resolve one thing to the root. And that's really difficult for us to do. We can learn to do it really well, but it's difficult because everything is in our face. But it's really important when you can. It's really helpful when you can do one thing that takes care of multiple problems. And there's ways to do that. Brains do that stuff all the time. So anyway, what questions do you have? Do you have any questions about getting rid of symptoms? Let me see. Getting rid of symptoms, any symptom that's bothering you, any challenges that you're facing, how to unravel codependence, maybe the next steps in your healing journeys, if you would like some advice on that or some thoughts around that. What do you got? What questions do you have? I mean, I will keep making things up because it's totally fine if this is a night where you are just, I don't have a question. That's okay. I'm just rereading. What shall you know what? A topic I want to cover that I'm going to cover in more depth is a complex a complex problem, and that's when your brain learns that sleep is dangerous. And I came upon this because I asked in my Facebook group um, if there was anybody like, how do you still know you have a disorder? because I was upfront that I'm looking for things to write about or go live about. But I want that to be very relevant to people and not just I'm running my mouth, which I do like to do that. And that's why I do go live. Um, that was one of the things they said was that they find sleep. Oh, yes, I have a question. That their brain believes sleep is dangerous. And um, yeah, I'm going to be going live about that. And I might do it a little bit today because I think it's urgent and pressing because sleep is one of my things. If anxiety, depression, traumatic stress um, is impacting one of your healing and blocking one of your major healing functions, it has to go. And it's so important that anyway, so I'm running it around my head, but because there's several reasons why the brain can learn that sleep is dangerous. But we'll see if I touch upon that tonight. Okay. But Eileen says, "Do you know how to get rid of health anxiety?" Why, yes, I do, Eileen. Thank you for asking. Uh, okay. Um, I do. Okay. Um, Health anxiety, number one, I can talk about the broad things of this, but my specialty comes with um, everyone's presentation of this is very different, and their brain has different reasons for being anxious about health. Some of this is the brain is anxious about health because of post-traumatic stress, because they lost somebody to a health illness, a health challenge, or there is a past trauma around health. That is one of the more simple things to resolve because that's about healing trauma and very specific traumatic memories. That's not that complex. So we want to heal the trauma and we work in healing the traumas that are involved. And then we also stay in the present and we start using interventions to recondition and regulate the nervous system around health challenges. People have different ones. Like some people have a fear that they're going to stop breathing. Some people have fears that they have cancer or that that if something's wrong. Some people there's so many ways this plays out. Some people every time they touch their like if there's a bump on their arm and they touch it, they'll go straight into a panic attack. We want to um, we want to teach the brain that that bump is not necessarily dangerous and it's definitely not worthy of a panic attack. The panic attack's not the right strategy right now. And um, so we can intervene right there when people are thinking about touching this or actually touching this, and using an intervention right there can really help the brain learn about this. And as when it learns enough about it, it will stop. Sometimes we can get this resolved, like this moment, right? This touching thing. This is the surface level of that disorder. The deeper levels of the disorder are in the trauma, the traumatic memories in the past. And so we work on those very specifically in a very there's specific standard processes for that. But the surface, we also want to deal with the surface level one because we have. I got to show you my drawing. It's not a drawing. You don't get my fabulous art today. It's a graphic I made because I think I'm fancy. Um, this, right? So um, this is the touching the hand and panicking. So touching the body and panicking, or the health anxiety as it presents in someone's life, right? Whether they noticing am I breathing deeply enough? And then they start panicking and then hyperventilating, right? Because the brain is becoming afraid of not breathing, right? We're encountering the trigger. When you encounter the trigger, that's up here at the top, the you in each now. So that's you right there. That's the point we're working on. We're not working on all of this. We're working on this. But when you start working on this, on from the brain's perspective, you have the opportunity in that moment to work on everything. You don't know what you're working on because you're just focused on this. You're like, brain, hey, why are you tripping out when I do this? And okay, I notice you are, so go ahead and freak out. I'm going to help you with this. We use an intervention there. And, but what we're working, we have the opportunity to impact every layer of this by working on it in the present. So, which means the interpersonal, and we can work on that. Like, if you're going to run screaming from a meeting, right? And we're working on this one little piece right here, and it's going to disrupt your function at work because you're going to run screaming from the meeting. By working on this one little tippy piece, we can change that. Your that we can interrupt you running and screaming from the meeting, right? We can also impact this layer, and we're definitely impacting the nervous system and how the nervous system is. If we can get you out of a panic response or all the emotion and brain collision that's going to happen right here, when you touch this bump, um, we're regulating your nervous system. If we can bring you down to calm where you can actually touch it without panicking, then your nervous system has learned, okay, when we touch this, we might go up, but then we come back down. But and then it learns here. It's like, okay, I'm still touching it, and here I am. And so we're reconditioning that. Now we can work on that till it's resolved. And I usually am putting plans together for people, um, because when we go after health anxiety, we want to break it into parts. And that everyday stuff is stuff I hand to clients. This will be yours to work on, and I'll have them do 1 to 2 activities, one that they're looking for, and no more. And we're looking to match the right pace. So this might be so much for them that they can only do half of it. Like, and I won't even have them put their hand on it. I'll have them think about it. So we want to back them up where they're not going to get hammered by whatever symptom's going to activate when they touch this. Okay, so we're helping the brain before it even gets there. But our goal is for them to be able to touch that point without panicking, without having any response whatsoever. And so that's what we'll do. And once we resolve that one, then we'll move to their next one. And so that's that process takes the longest amount of time, but it's really great because while people are doing this and they're following those instructions, they're actually working with their brain, right? And so they're learning how to lead their brain out of panic attacks. This is really, really important to any anxiety disorder, trauma, or depression, because you part of the problem is you feel like you can't control your brain, and your brain is chasing you around, and symptoms are chasing you everywhere, and that's traumatic in and of itself. Like, you just want to escape your own body, right? And so some of the work with healing anxiety, depression, and trauma disorders, or even just getting rid of symptoms, is reestablishing trust and teamwork. And so when I'm handing strategies off to people, or projects, that's what I'm handing off. I'm handing projects. Then they are starting that work, and they're learning how to work with their thoughts. They're learning what this is made of, and they're learning how to understand themselves from the inside out. And that when we resolve this one, they're like, oh, and then we've just taught their brain, you can resolve these things. Yeah, how about that? That was fun, right? Let's do the next one. And the brain is like, yeah, how about this one? What about this one too? And then you're like, okay, hold up, slow down. One at a time. Which one you want next? And the brain tells you. So I typically, when I'm training somebody, I will hand them off with the everyday stuff, because that's the stuff that matters to their actual ability to live in their life. And it's the stuff that it's this stuff. It just pokes through life. It just pokes through, right? And it's a small thing, and it's the simplest layer of the work. So you don't need massive skills. You can have no skill whatsoever. As long as you use the intervention, you're going to help your brain massively. And that's fun, because you're like, okay, I almost freaked out, but I didn't. I'm winning. And then so as that confidence grows, so that's then I start teaching them deeper skills, right? So I'm having them do the touching thing, and they're just working on that, however long it takes. And then I usually give them a backup homework. If you get through this, then I want you to start this project. And so I'll have them do that layer, and then when I'm working with them, we'll do deeper. I'll do the more skillful work. And so they're working up here, I'm helping them work down here, and we're doing this, right? And so, but as after they're done with the first layer, then I give them another skill to get them down to this layer, and then I will give them homework specific to this stuff. This one is for health anxiety. It's a lot of about. Um, Let me see. I'm talking about this in the order. It doesn't match up exactly with this, but it matches up exactly with how it plays out. Um, the next layer that people are really good at is really the beliefs. It's time after that to go after beliefs. So we work on the past events. We work on those, and then we're working on the. I've spent my brain out in a whole direction. I'm gonna come bring it back. So basically, what you need to know is that on a training level, I build their skills in and I work out. Eventually, people are doing their own deep work, and I am out coaching it. And so they will end up taking all of this, but we kind of do it in a way like this, right? Um, I'm doing I'm doing the deep work, they're doing the superficial work, and then pretty soon I'm doing this much work, superficial work, and they're doing all the deep work. Okay. So having said that, we get back to health anxiety. Um, I think that's all I'm going to say on that note. Let me look into these. Let me look into these messages so I can. Um, oh yes, absolutely. I'm glad that Lori that you are relating, um, and I'm so glad you're not having those panic attacks anymore and anxiety. Awesome. And Margaret says, I have more to say on that, Eileen. If on this health anxiety, it's just somewhere in my brain. But if you have another question specific to your question, go ahead and let me know. That thing, it just wants to keep poking back in. The last thing I'll say about the health anxiety is really it's important to work on the subconscious programming layer. And by the time someone can do the surface layer work plus the past trauma work, then they're in a really great position to do the subconscious programming, because the subconscious programming layer of any disorder, any challenges, but especially with health anxiety, is that you're running there are always subconscious programs running. It's like our coding right now. I The only reason I'm even doing this is because I have plenty of subconscious programming to support what I'm doing. But you're seeing in some areas I don't. My brain's wandering off. That's subconscious programming stuff, right? And most of the time brain will resolve those, right? And then but in new areas where you haven't talked about it a lot, in my case, I'm talking about stuff, layers of stuff I haven't talked about before. And so I don't have great coding for that yet. My brain is building them. But for health anxiety and or any disorder, you want to work on the subconscious programming of it, because that's the layer of how you live your life and you don't have to pay attention to it, right? That's the stuff where you're on autopilot and your autopilot is making awesome things. And right now in health anxiety or any disorder of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, your subconscious programming is not making the life you want to live. And so we want to get in there and take stuff out. We want to rearrange things. We want to update things so that it's making the life you want to live. And we know that your subconscious programming is on point when you're actually experiencing what you want to experience. And so we have a lot of power to do that. Okay, so Margaret says COVID is the main source of my worry. It's really hard to understand. Yes. Okay. Um, so um, okay, so COVID is the challenge she's dealing with, but the brain problem is worry, from what I'm gathering from this. And so, and what I will say is that I want to say this well. Um, that we want to change the worrying function in the brain. Worrying is a process that it's about considering possibilities, and it's something brains need to do, and it's something important. But when they can't complete the process, they will just loop and loop and loop, and so you'll just be worried, 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 worried. And what makes them not be able to complete their healing process so that you can consider possibilities and come to solutions for that. Oh, if that happens, I'll do this, this, or this. No problem. Good. Okay. And you go on with your life. But when you're spending time worrying about it and you're playing out worst case scenarios and you're imagining awful things, that's the same. I just said the same thing twice in different ways. When all of that, when you're perseverating on something, that means that the process to get this thing like COVID through your brain's healing processes, and everything that COVID means through your brain's healing process is blocked. And usually it's blocked because of a very specific emotion that is shutting your brain function down. And I don't know what that specific emotion is. I'm gonna guess, and I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty the guessing game about that because I can imagine it. And I've been working with people with anxiety around COVID. As a matter of fact, when I had COVID, I was like, "Whoa, I got all these fears running amok." I had to do a lot of work regulating my nervous system because we know that staying in survival state is shifting us out of a healing state. And if you have COVID, you need to be on the healing pathways, not on the survival pathways panicking around. And when I had that, I found lots of fear coming up. So I was constantly using my interventions because I'm going to heal. Brain, we're healing. But you can't tell your brain, hey, let's do the healing thing. It's like, no, don't talk to me. We need to survive. And that's really when we want to use these interventions. Um, so, but when we have something like COVID, what we're talking about is terror. We're talking about grief. We're talking about fear. We're talking about the unknown, right? What's going to happen? And we have all of these emotions flaring every time they're flaring, and they're reaching a point where your brain is interpreting them as pain and as a threat to your survival, right? Too much pain is a threat to your survival as far as your brain's concerned. And emotions are registered the same as physical pain. And so emotional pain is a problem. So if you've got a lot of terror coming up, that's a signal that one, you're being chased by a tiger, right? Your brain is like, oh, I know what that means. Run, right? And it's just all you were doing was thinking about COVID, but your body started doing the fear stuff, which is the survival system doesn't ask questions. It's like, I hear what you're picking up, go. And next thing you know, your brain is running, right? You're imagining all the things, or you're freezing, you're just locked in terror. Um, so the problem in this scenario is not necessarily COVID, it's how your brain is responding to COVID. And and how the emotions that COVID is evoking with you. And let me tell you that this is what's important for you to understand is that the brain uses emotion to build your new ways of being. It is a construction material. Therefore, it is wonderful that all this emotion is flowing out of us because that means this is the stuff that means we have the potential to create new ways of being in the world. And this is a massive time for upgrading. But what's problematic is if this terror doesn't get through, and terror is difficult to get through the brain's process, then all of it just starts backing up. And then it starts to come out of all different things. It comes out of your body and different symptoms. It starts coming out in fight, flight, freeze, or faint. You're fighting with your kids. You're stressed out. You can't sleep. You're having a difficult time because that fear isn't coming to the part of the brain that can actually convert it and use it as material and really take that emotion and make life fit you and make you thrive. And so when we're worrying, the most important thing is not to just stop worrying. Just stop worrying. No, the most important thing is, okay, let's get that emotion through. Let's make sure that emotion doesn't stay out in the back of the brain because that's going to fuel back of the brain activity. We don't want that energy, that emotion fueling the back of the brain stuff. We want that emotion coming forward and fueling the construction and development of exactly how you want to be, exactly the stuff that makes you happy and joyful, and new ways of being, new ideas. And when we get that through, the whole brain can really work together in very a creative, collaborative way to make to be the solution in the world. So I want you, one, to see this as an opportunity, and two, see what your brain is doing here. Um, when a simple treatment option, a simple intervention, okay, a simple way to work with this, there we go, to help your brain move that fear out of your body, out of out of the back of the brain, is to just use an intervention as often as it's coming up. That's the slow route, but it's a powerful route. And by slow, I mean each time you use an intervention, you'll feel tons better, right? And also by slow, maybe this would be something that it will take you a couple weeks to work through, right? I mean, um, the very first strategies I teach people are these very basic ones. And it's like you have this mountain of fear, and we're going to go take a spoon and we're going to go through, we're going to go grab some of it up, and we're going to move all that through the healing pathways. And then we're going to grab some more terror and get it through. That takes a while, but guess what? Your brain is thrilled with this. It is not like it's only a spoonful. It's like, this, we've been looking for this stuff this whole time. Oh my gosh, we feel so much better. This is great. Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to make with this, right? So your brain doesn't care if it comes through a little at a time. It's over there like desperate for this stuff to get to it. That's why it's worrying. Actually, it's actually the brain's effort, the front of the brain's effort to reach back and grab the stuff it wants to build with. And this survival system is like, no, you don't, get your hands out of here. And then there's a whole fight in there, and this part doesn't get what it needs, and it can't build for you. And the back of the brain is like, yeah, let's go, good. You want this? I'll send that up to you. There it is. And the survival system's in the butt, like, hold up, no. And so it that way, the survival system's not going to change. Its job is to protect you. It's receiving messages that that terror will kill you, and whatever's coming with it. And we don't want to argue with that. We want to help it. So we're going to use an intervention, pull the survival system out of this thing. Come over here. We're going to use an intervention. We're going to rock your little survival system, pull it out of the way, and let the other parts of the brain do their job. Once they've got enough, you can leave the survival system back. Also, the interventions help to bring down the intensity levels the of the terror. So it will still be terror, but it will not be terror that registers as on the Richter scale of pain as a 10. It'll start registering as a 4, as a 3, as a 2, and that's okay to come through. That's all right. And um, so that's really what you want to do with worry, because once that stuff gets through, your brain can continue through its problem solving process. And that is the end of worry. That is how worry finishes, because your brain really wants this. The front of your brain knows it needs to build something for you, and it's like, I don't have any material, I need to go get it, I need to go get it. And it's very neurotic, it's neurons. So it's just going to do that, right? And that's what we worry, right? And that's a broken, that process needs help, and it doesn't need to be stopped. It's a construction process. You need your construction crew. So I wouldn't say don't be mad at yourself for worrying, help yourself. And you'll see that worrying process get better and better and better, because as you help your brain through that process, it's like, oh, this is how it's supposed to work. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Okay. Well, I wonder if we do this. And then it starts enhancing the process itself, and it starts learning the steps. And so then it's doing this on its own, which is what your brain is supposed to be doing. And then it's doing it, and you'll find where it gets stuck, and it's like, and you'll jump in there and help it out with an intervention, and it'll keep moving through. All this time, your survival system is actually learning that that particular terror is not actually that dangerous. I thought it was, but it's been through here, it's passed the checkpoints multiple times, so must not be that bad. And so it learns to start working better with terror. And that's really what we want. We want that relationship to keep growing, so that you're not you can have emotions without constantly going into a survival mode over them. So I hope that makes sense. Let me see. I'm going to Um, so it's and when we have something like COVID is a general thing. But really we need to open this up and make sure all aspects get through your brain's healing process because um, when you say COVID, that's just too big for brains to process. So you want to open it up, and you have several different things here. You have people passing away. You have how are my children going to be if I get it? What if my kids get it? Will they be okay? All the news I'm seeing on the TV that's stressing me out, all my friends that are commenting, all the political stuff going on, right? We can break this up into really small pieces and then take those ones through. And if those are too big, we break those ones down too and may move them through because it's more important that we get this stuff through than um, yeah, it's just so important that we get it through. That's really the whole thing. If you want symptoms to stop, you have to help the brain complete its healing process. So and even though when we have something like this, we open it up, we might just be able to complete this one. That's good enough. Because then we're going to come over here and we're going to grab this one and we're going to get that one through. And then as the more we get through, sometimes you only need to get 3 of these. And then the brain's like, oh, I know what to do with the rest of this. Done. You never know how much support your brain is going to need on any specific issue. And so I always am excited when things resolve right away. And I'm always like prepared to put the backpacks on and like, let's go. This is complex. We're going to use our bigger strategies for those. Right. So, but even those, even if you just use the little spoon strategies, you're crushing it. And you can resolve any disorder with just this. It's going to take you longer, right? But who cares if you're healing, if you're actually getting results, if you're not panicking anymore, and if and so and then you take that little healing space you have, and then you can do greater and greater combinations and get more and more healing. So um, yeah, and if you want more advanced strategies, that's exactly why I developed the program that I did and why I've made it available, the curriculum available as an online self-study process so that you can actually learn the deeper strategies and you can learn how to do the first layer work and you can start this process and feel confident because you're like, okay, Rachel said do this. Yeah, do it, do it. Okay. And then, the next thing you get the next strategy and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I'm going to do it. And then you just start doing it. Right. And then the next thing you know, by the third one, I'm giving you massively advanced strategies that are awesome. And then you're actually taking a truck load and you're dumping stuff off. This is actually the intervention I give you in the second intervention strategy is the truckload, right? And so you're moving bigger chunks and then it just there's just really this is really wonderful to work with your brain and I personally have tried to make it really available and easy and so that if you're interested in that program it's on my website. You can look at the header for this and it's or go to rachelmcleod.com/services and then you can see the online self-study. You can see my 8-week intensive where I will walk you through all of this stuff intensively, personally and intensively, and some other opportunities as well. So but yes, health anxiety is really one of those because when we can get our brain back, it's like it's you know whoever controls your nervous system controls what your life looks like and controls what you're doing with your life. And if fear is controlling your nervous system, your life is going to look like that. And but we want fear to come through. Like we want to have a good relationship with fear. We don't want to have fear and shuts your whole system down and grabs your nervous system and starts painting your life with fear. We really want that moving through because your natural states will come out, your natural joy, your natural calm, your natural creativity, your natural skills and talents can flow when everything's moving. And that's really who we want in charge of your nervous system. And so it's so important that we have great skills for working with these symptoms, with these other emotions so that we can our life looks like us, not like fear. So, anywho, oh, Yay. Thank you, Lori. Lori. Um, she's saying I'm awesome and I'm very competent. I love that. Um, and okay, Margaret says that's it exactly. Good. Okay, I'm so glad sometimes it's hard to nail it when you're over here on video land, especially because when symptoms for one person do not necessarily even feel the same for symptoms for somebody else. So um, it's I was reaching there a little bit, but I felt like we were doing that so good. We were connecting on that. All right. Okay, well, we're 55 minutes into this, and I don't see any more questions. Oh, thank you, Margaret. Um, and I think I want to say that I wanted to touch in on the sleeping piece. Um, and this is all I'm going to say for that because it's really multiple different things happening, but and you only need to worry about worry you only need to work on the one that's accurate for you. um, so but what I will say is that any sleep challenge that you're dealing with, and um, using an intervention before bed or when you wake up in the middle of the night is just really really the best starting place. Um, there are so many reasons for that that I will go into in another video. But between now and then, I want you to feel like you can do something with that. And let me tell you, I am teaching I am made available the same training DVD set that I use to onboard all of my clients to get them equipped with interventions, like emotional freedom techniques, thought filled therapy, or a specific intervention in thought filled therapy and an energy routine, because I want to introduce them to as the tools that I found to be the have the least amount of side effects and to create the most change, to help the brain create the most change the quickest. And so that those two that I use, emotional freedom techniques and an intervention in thought filled therapy, are huge, and they're easy to learn. So and then energy medicine is also just a grab back of awesome interventions that I found to be really helpful in organizing. So I've made that training DVD set available on my not it's not a training DVD. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to say this right, okay? I've given access to my that video series, video training series. Oh, hold on. Um, on my email list. Okay, so I'm releasing that right away. So if you want to be trained in some interventions, you can get on my email list tonight, right now, and you will get the first training. Yes, first training video right away. And then 2 days later, I give you the third, and the next 2 days later, I give you the second, and then the third. It's time for Rachel to go to bed, everybody. So let me see if I can get my words right. Let me see if I can hook my brain up here. This actually is one of the interventions in the training series. But anyways, on there you get that, and I've spaced it out because I want you to take some time to try the interventions. And so there's that. But you can get those, and they're also available. Longer trainings on those same interventions are available in my Facebook group, and I've added them in the top. Plus, in my Facebook group, I've also given other trainings, so it's definitely a great place to go and access all kinds of trainings and watch those replays. So you can find my email. You can get on my email list on my website, rachelmcleod.com, and also I put the link above. So, woo! All right, I think we're done here. Have a great night. And let me know how getting rid of your symptoms is working for you. I think I missed it. I think I'm going to read one more of these. I think I saw something else. Okay, Eileen says this. I knew it. Um, okay, here we go. And Joanna, I'm going to tell you how to get on my email list. I'm going to put it right here if you want. Um, I pinned it. Um, Message. Nope. I'm going to tell you later. Oh, now I've done some things. Okay, I'm answering. Eileen says, yes, I really just want to find a therapist to help me out with that, but I don't even know how to start. But thank you, and your comments are really appreciated. Yes. Okay, number one, it's just super important that you know that this is resolvable. Um, and that this is a brain function challenge. This is not because anything's wrong with you, and it's there's something wrong with how your brain is functioning right now, and there's reasons why your brain is functioning like this, and you can resolve those. You can help your brain. Your brain has to fix it. If we try to fix it from the outside of your brain and fix it for your brain, the solution will not fit. Your brain actually has to make the solution, and so we just help your brain make that solution, and then all of a sudden resolve, because brains are good at this. This is their whole job. You're not supposed to be dragging around all these symptoms that grow and create things like disorders. Okay, so that's there. And then, so a place to start. Okay, that I really, I'm gonna pump up my program that I developed, and the self study option, either working with me intensively or using the self study option. This is something you really can resolve yourself with the right skills and strategies. So that's, and I do know that it's difficult to find a therapist who's trained in this stuff, and then on top of that, to find one that's a fit for you. And so if that's, and so in the meanwhile, while you're looking for therapists, you really can be doing these things and create healing and help your brain heal. And so that those are options for you. Um, when you're looking for a therapist for an anxiety, depression, and trauma disorder, you really want somebody that's really is specialized. People don't say, therapists don't say, which I wish they would, but they don't yet say, I will help you work with your survival system, right? I help you work with the parts of the brain that actually are creating the problem, right? So, but because they don't say that, you, and maybe they don't even know that. I didn't know that. I was trained in interventions. I didn't know that until I started hanging out with interpersonal neurobiologists. And I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. Game changer. I'm not doing any of that other stuff. Um, I'm just going to help the brain help itself. So, but the interventions that work best for this are emotional freedom techniques. Okay, these are the ones I have found that work best for these. Am you really need to have somebody who is very skillful in a mind body intervention. The survival system is listening to the body. Therefore, when you use the body to communicate with the survival system, it listens right away. That is its native language. And so, therefore, you want to use a mind body intervention. There are many, many, many of them out there. I am not trained in all of them. I am super happy with the ones that I have, but I'm also super nosy. So pretty soon I'm probably going to go take more interventions. And I'm going to be hiring a couple of people that do some cool things like breath work and other cool things, because I need to lay off the interventions. I'm turning into an intervention hog over here. Um, I don't need to. I'm playing around, but see, I'm going cracking myself up, and then I don't know where I'm at here. So, okay. So where I know where I am. Okay, so um, the interventions that I've found that work best for this are emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, energy medicine, and EMDR. Okay. Now, um, EMDR is not the right fit for everybody. If it is the right fit for you, it's amazing. Awesome. All of them are amazing. You actually feel like something magical has happened to you, but nothing magical has happened to you. Your brain's working. Okay. That's what's magical. Um, but these interventions help your brain do that. So, um, but I have videos about EMDR and why it's not a good fit. And so if definitely look at those and see, because I lay it out for you, and you'll get a feel from the video. You'll be like, mm, or you'll be like, that sounds awesome. If you're leaning forward, then it's probably a good fit for you. Find somebody who does that. More and more therapists are learning EFT. Less are learning thought-filled therapy. I wish there was more, but it is what it is. And energy medicine is not really integrated into mental health therapy yet, because it's a lot of hands-on and body work, kind of like massage, but not at all like massage. Okay. But I'm just saying it's handsy. And you don't typically do that with a therapist. But I hope we can start integrating that. I've integrated some of that with clients, and I'm not as, it's not as flow with therapy clients as I can really be with coaching clients, because of how handsy it is, right? Just doesn't quite feel like the right fit for therapy. But so what I do is I will have clients, I teach them interventions, EMD, energy medicine interventions, and I also send them to local energy medicine practitioners. So, and virtual ones, which I also will be making some available. Some of the ladies that do this that I know, I'm going to be having them be available to you all to do virtual sessions, and you can schedule that on my website. So hopefully my website will become a place where you can come and heal, grab you in a different modality and play with an amazing practitioner. So coming in the future. But so, and those people, so you can find those people in your communities. They're not therapists. And then you've got EMDR. On Psychology Today, there are therapists in there that are trained in EMDR, and you can find them. There's a little button. You go on there, you click your city, you click your you look on the side which modality you want. EMDR is in there. I don't think EFT is in there. Emotional freedom techniques is in there, and I don't think thought-filled therapy is either. And so, which is unfortunate. And so, but many, not many, there are EMDR practitioners that are trained in other modalities. We are running it. I mean, I ran into the limitation of EMDR, and I'm like, it just made me mad. But good thing I had these other interventions, so I didn't stay mad. Okay. But so you can find EMDR therapists on Psychology Today. The deal is, there are many, everybody has their own philosophy of how they use the interventions. That this is one of the reasons why I think it's important for you to know how to do this work, because it's your brain, and nobody's going to work as hard for your brain as you can. And so that's really one of the reasons why I'm like, get the program, do the program. But the other piece is that some EMDR therapists won't actually do EMDR with people. They say they are EMDR trained, but they don't like the intervention. They've had bad experiences with the intervention. They're not they think that whatever they think. So if you're not doing an intervention, it's going to be difficult for your brain to actually heal itself. So if you find somebody that you really love and you have your own intervention, like you've watched the training set the training videos I gave you, and so you're coming with your intervention to your therapy sessions, and you're like, okay, hold on, let me tap on that. Let me do some EMDR on that. Then you can accelerate your own healing, right? And you can get the wheels in your brain rolling. Those are some ideas. And then there are great EMDR therapists out there. And if you find one, you're rocking. And I don't like limiting healing work to sessions. That's why I really teach people how to go and use the intervention, because your brain needs support in the moments when it needs support, not just in the office with a therapist. And if I find that to resolve a disorder, it takes about 120 to 300 hours of specific and targeted brain work with an intervention. So if you're only using an intervention weekly, you're not going to get to your 120 hours for 2 years. And even then, it's like 2 years and point whatever, 2.5, whatever. And that slows things down. And I don't like that, because brains are like lightning speed. What are you doing between sessions? What could you be doing between sessions? And we're going to do this for the next 6 years. If you got 300 hours, that's brain work to do, which is more on the severe complex childhood trauma end, which is many of us. That's 6 years of therapy, weekly sessions. We got things to do. I don't want you spending a decade doing this. So definitely learn some tools, integrate the tools. You can learn strategies. That's what I'm teaching in that online course. I'm teaching the strategies in the order that you need them, and they build on top of each other. They're just cool. It's just a cool program. Anyway, I am not biased at all. Oh, okay. All right. So I am going to uh, thank you, Joanna. I appreciate you. And Margaret, thank you. So on that note, I'm going to get off. And I am going to make sure, Joanna, that you know how to get on my email list, and anybody else. It's also in the comments. And I will see you all soon. Blessings to you on your healing journey, victory, discovery, wellness, and just deep connection with yourself and those that you love. Take care.